Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of time to uncover the mysteries of our collective past. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey to explore one of the most infamous episodes in American history, the Salem Witch Trials. This dark and captivating tale has enthralled scholars and the general public alike for centuries, and it is my pleasure to guide you through its intricate web of events. As we set out on this exploration, let us first establish a clear understanding of the historical context that gave rise to these trials. The year 1629 marks the founding of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, with John Winthrop serving as its governor. This Puritan settlement would eventually become the epicenter of the witchcraft hysteria that engulfed the region in the late 17th century. The early years of the colony were marked by a deep-seated fear of the unknown, which was fueled by the harsh realities of life in the New World. Let us transport ourselves to the rustic landscape of 17th-century Massachusetts, where the dense forests and rugged coastline seem to whisper tales of mystery and terror. It is here that we find the seeds of the Salem Witch Trials being sown, amidst a community gripped by superstition and a deep-seated fear of the devil's influence. The influential writings of William Perkins, an English theologian, which emphasized the presence of evil in the world, further contributed to this atmosphere of dread. In 1641, the Massachusetts Bay Colony established its first formal government, with John Winthrop serving as governor. This development set the stage for the eventual trials, as it created a framework for the exercise of power and the administration of justice in the colony. The year 1689 saw the publication of Cotton Mather's book, Memorable Providences, relating to witchcrafts and possessions, which further fueled the perception that witchcraft was a real and present threat to the community. As we explore the early history of the Salem Witch Trials, it becomes clear that the stage was set for a perfect storm of fear, superstition, and mass hysteria. Tensions between rival factions within the community, such as the pro-English and anti-English groups, contributed to an atmosphere of distrust and hostility. The struggles of the local economy, including a decline in the maritime trade and a series of poor harvests, further exacerbated the sense of unease and desperation. One notable figure who played a significant role in shaping the community's worldview was Increase Mather, the father of Cotton Mather. As a prominent minister and theologian, Increase Mather's writings and sermons helped to foster an atmosphere of fear and suspicion, which would eventually contribute to the witchcraft hysteria. The events leading up to the trials are complex and multifaceted, involving a combination of economic, social, and cultural factors. The year 1692 would mark the beginning of a dark and fateful period in American history, one that would result in the execution of 20 people, most of whom were women, and the imprisonment of many others. As we conclude this initial foray into the origins of the Salem Witch Trials, we find ourselves poised on the threshold of a pivotal moment in history. The intricate web of events, figures, and circumstances has been set in motion, and the stage is now prepared for the dramatic and tragic events that will unfold in the coming months. Join me next as we delve deeper into the heart of the Salem Witch Trials, where the drama, intrigue, and tragedy will reach a fever pitch, forever changing the course of American history. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we continue our journey through the fascinating and complex tale of the Salem Witch Trials. In February 1692, a group of young girls, including Abigail Williams, Betty Paris, and Anne Putnam, began exhibiting strange behaviors, such as convulsions and trance-like states. These events were soon attributed to witchcraft, and the accusations quickly snowballed, engulfing the community in a wave of fear and paranoia. The accusations targeted many of the community's outcasts and marginalized members, including the elderly, the poor, and those who had previously been at odds with their neighbors. As the trials commenced, the court relied heavily on dubious forms of evidence, such as spectral evidence, testimony about dreams and visions, and touching tests, examinations of the accused's body for signs of a witch's mark. The lack of due process and the reliance on such questionable evidence led to a rapid escalation of the trials, with more and more people being accused, tried, and executed. One notable example of the hysteria that gripped the community is the case of Rebecca Nurse, a 71-year-old grandmother who was respected and well-liked by her neighbors. Despite her good reputation, she was accused of witchcraft and ultimately executed by hanging on July 19, 1692. Her case highlights the arbitrary nature of the accusations and the devastating consequences that befell many innocent people. As Cotton Mather so aptly put it, the devil is a great deceiver, and his agents are not to be trusted. This mindset, which pervaded the community, created an atmosphere in which anyone could be accused, and the rule of law was effectively suspended. The trials became a self-perpetuating cycle of fear, accusation, and execution, with each new accusation fueling further hysteria and paranoia. The summer of 1692 saw the peak of the witch hunt frenzy, with executions taking place on a near-weekly basis. The community's descent into madness was fueled by a combination of factors, including fear, superstition, and a deep-seated desire for social control. As the trials continued to spiral out of control, it became clear that something had gone terribly wrong in Salem. As we reach the pinnacle of this dark period in American history, we are left to ponder the profound implications of the events that unfolded. The Salem Witch Trials serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mass hysteria, false accusations, and the importance of upholding due process and the rule of law. Join me next as we explore the decline of the witch hunt hysteria and the long-term consequences of the Salem Witch Trials. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we conclude our journey through the fascinating and complex tale of the Salem Witch Trials. As the witch hunt hysteria reached its peak in the summer of 1692, it eventually began to subside, and the community's descent into madness slowly came to an end. In October 1692, Governor William Phips dissolved the Court of Oyer and Terminer, which had been responsible for the trials, and established a new court to oversee the remaining cases. This marked a significant turning point in the crisis, as the new court was more cautious and applied more rigorous standards of evidence. As a result, many of the accused were released from prison, and some were even pardoned. One notable example of the efforts to restore justice and dignity to the victims is the case of Ann Putnam, one of the original accusers. In 1706, she publicly apologized for her role in the trials, stating that she had been deluded by Satan and acknowledging the harm she had caused. This apology was a significant step towards healing and reconciliation in the community. In the years following the trials, there were several attempts to make amends and provide restitution to the victims and their families. In 1706, the Massachusetts General Court declared that the trials were unlawful and offered restitution to the victims' families. In 1957, the state of Massachusetts formally apologized for the trials and established a memorial to the victims in Salem. The legacy of the Salem Witch Trials extends far beyond the community of Salem itself. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mass hysteria, false accusations, and the importance of upholding due process and the rule of law. As Cotton Mather's contemporary, Robert Pike, so aptly put it, the witch trials were a great and lamentable error, which will be a warning to future generations. Today, the Salem Witch Trials are remembered as a dark period in American history, but also as an important lesson in the importance of protecting individual rights and preventing the kind of mass hysteria that can lead to such devastating consequences. As we reflect on this episode, we are reminded of the importance of critical thinking, skepticism, and the need for rigorous evidence-based decision-making. As we conclude our exploration of the Salem Witch Trials, we are left with a profound sense of sadness and regret for the victims and their families, but also with a deep appreciation for the lessons that can be learned from this tragic episode in American history. Join me next as we explore other fascinating and complex topics in history, and continue to uncover the rich and nuanced stories that have shaped our world. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.